Hello, everybody. Welcome back into another week of the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alek, Koberna. That's Matt Morrison and Mike Wolfgang. Boys, holiday weekend, rivalry week in college football. It hurt me. How are you guys doing after this weekend?
A little
Pretty
sluggish.
good, pretty good. I feel it. I had to work yesterday. I'm like, I don't
Dude,
want to
I'm exhausted. I've had no energy today.
Me
Long
either.
drive back in from
here.
from Western Ohio this morning or last night, and man, I'm down for the count. I'm exhausted from this holiday weekend. Normally it's the other way around, right? You're a little refreshed, but this I don't know what it was. Weather got bad, got cold, chilly.
Yeah.
Everyone lost the energy, huh?
Not when you do too much either. I mean, every night you're doing something.
Oh yeah.
Wednesday night I was hanging out. I had the Turkey Bowl Thursday, Cavs game Saturday. I did too much, so I'm a little sluggish.
Glad to see everybody's still working here. Let's go ahead and get into what happened. Well, actually, what's going to happen tonight? Monday Night Football, 3-7 Seattle Seahawks at the 4-6 Washington Football Team. Guys, any thoughts on this one before we get into picks for tonight? Because to me, this feels like a pretty terrible game to look at. But at least I guess the one bright side is Russell Wilson is, I think, sort of healthy at this point. So you can at least look at that and point there like, oh, maybe this will be a little bit of a better game. But keep in mind, no Chris Carson for Seattle. I think they're missing a few guys defensively. We haven't seen anything out of their offensive guys either. I mean, they haven't had any sort of ground game. Passing game while Russ was gone was non-existent. I haven't seen anything from them. Then you see Seattle, Washington, they have just as many injuries, just as many problems offensively. So I think this is a game kind of both teams trying to lose to get better draft positioning here. What do you guys think?
Mike,
yeah, if Washington wins tonight, they go to 5-6, and they'd still be definitely in the race for the wild card spot, and they'd be breathing down the Cowboys' neck just like the Eagles are in the NFC East, which is surprising. And they'll join teams like Philly and Minnesota and Carolina in the wild card race. But obviously the key tonight, and I think the main key to beating Seattle on any given night is getting to Russ, because that's pretty much their offense right there. And I think it's going to be hard for Washington to do it without Chase Young, but they definitely can. They haven't had him for a few games, so they definitely can do it, and they got to try to do it early. And with Taylor Heineke on Washington's side, what are we going to get from him tonight? Because we saw at the beginning of the season he wasn't, what we thought he was going to be, or even the team wasn't, but especially him. And these last few weeks he's kind of come on a little bit. So what are we going to get from him tonight? Because this is a big one for Washington.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle here first. Not doing too hot, of course, the Russell Wilson injury, and he's not quite 100%, has been a huge factor on why they're 3-7 so far this year. And there's a lot of that talk. Oh, get rid of Wilson, trade him to somewhere else to start fresh. I'm like, he's your main source. You can't trade him away. You gotta find ways to win with him while he's there, and they've done that these past few years. So he gets injured, one bad season, and it's called quits on Russell Wilson. I don't get this. No, the guy led you to 2 consecutive Super Bowl appearances. One against that blowout win against Peyton Manning. And then you almost beat Tom Brady if it wasn't for a miraculous interception at the end. I don't say give up on this guy. He's a 10-year veteran, yes, but he's still capable of playing longer than some of the guys that have only been in the league for 4 years. He's still capable of being that starting quarterback for this team. I think you just gotta maybe build that defense up to maybe what it used to be. You're not going to get the same exact way it was with the Legion of Boom, but you can make it the new defense of the Seahawks, and maybe add a little bit more on offense too. DK Metcalf has had the down year. It's only been really Lockett's, Lockett has been pretty much the main guy. Maybe get some running game as well. Maybe that's what they have to go for in this upcoming draft. Maybe take a little bit off the pressure off Russell and get a solid running back in the draft. So I don't know, but this game, it's Washington. It's a very winnable game. And, next week you have the Niners, and then the week after that, the Texans too. So the Niners is 50-50, but Washington and Houston should be, games that are, you're able to win. So we're just going to have to see here. Yes, Taylor Heineke has been going off. He's been, a lot of people, even us, have been saying, hey, Taylor Heineke, it's done. it was fun while it lasted. It was a nice little circus ride. It's over, and I think he's been listening into that and said, "Hey, I want to be here as long as I want to be here, and I'm going to win games." And what would you say, Mike? If they win tonight, what they're going to be? What?
They'd be 5-6, and they'd be very
5
well,
and 6, and
definitely in the wild card race.
Pushing here. They would definitely be pushing here. I mean, they had a couple big wins, one over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and why stop there? Just keep winning and winning. If you can beat Tampa Bay, I mean, you can beat anybody, right? Because Tampa Bay is loaded. So, I mean, that's all. Yeah, it should be. It should be a game.
Yeah, and Matt, to your point about, Russell Wilson still being their guy, keep in mind the numbers he was putting up beginning of the season. When this team was started out 2-3, he goes down week 5 in that Rams game with the injury. Before then, this guy was putting up 4 touchdowns a game, 250, 300 plus yards. He was having a phenomenal start to the season. Yeah, they were slipping up in a few games, but 2-2 going into that Rams game, he gets injured, and then the question marks start popping up. They've won 1 game since then, and that came against the Jacksonville Jaguars. These last 2 games he's come back, the offense hasn't done really much of anything. We expected that in the Packers game. They got shut out 17-0. That was what it was, 20 of 40, 161 yards, 2 interceptions. You weren't expecting, a massive day from him because he said it himself. He was not 100%. Then the next week against Arizona, a great defense, but they were without their starting quarterback. Colt McCoy outdid Russell Wilson in that game by about 3 landslides. Colt McCoy went 35 of 44, 320 yards and 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson went 14 of 26, 207 yards, didn't even throw a touchdown. He didn't throw an interception, but, I haven't seen anything out of him since he has returned to Seattle to really warrant him any reason to give him this football game. You now have Washington football team on a 2-game win streak, and frankly, 2 pretty decent wins, I would say.
Yeah.
They get the win over the Buccaneers. They beat the Panthers this past Sunday, Sunday before, and a game Heineke went off 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Antonio Gibson had 95 yards. To me right now, it seems Seattle doesn't have the right pieces around Russell. They don't have Russell at 100%. And to me, Washington, despite their injuries, they're a more complete team. I'm giving this game to Washington based on that fact that I just don't think Seattle has their things together right now. Again, Washington's got a chance right now. And to me, any team with a fighting chance is going to stick it out. Seattle, to me, doesn't have a chance, and they're out of this one. Pack it up, go to the draft, get this man a running back.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at the best quarterbacks in this game, guys like John Elway. I mean, later in their career, the main reason why they had a Super Bowl ring was because of defense, and that running back they had for Denver. What was his name, Mike? You know all those old players.
I can't remember.
I forget his name, but he was a workhorse, and he pretty much gave John Elway another Super Bowl win. So maybe a guy in this draft, another running back, could possibly do this. Maybe a guy like John Walker, or is he eligible? I don't know. Somebody that plays like Walker or Kenneth Walker.
Well, so, Mike, why don't you go ahead and give your pick? I take Washington. Matt takes Seattle. You're the tiebreaker pick here. Who you got?
I'm going to take Washington, not because I want to, but I just think their offense is better than Seattle's. I think we can agree with it. It's not anything special, but it's definitely better than Seattle's. And I think they need this one more because, like I said, they get this one. It's a big one for them at home. Put yourself in better playoff position because people were kind of pushing them aside. And they started out slow last year, and they made a run to get in the playoffs. So I think they know how to play in these situations. They need this game. It's at home, and it's a big one. So I'm going to go with them.
All right. Well,
I got to go Washington too.
Matt, you already made your pick. You said Seattle 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Did I?
No, I think he was saying he's got to go Seattle to start. That's what I thought. But
no, I didn't make my pick.
All right. You taking Washington? All right.
Yeah, I'm taking Washington. I didn't pick Seattle. I was talking a lot about Seattle.
Check the tapes. I'll check them after.
I think he said I'm going to go Washington, like when he was starting his breakdown or whatever you want to call it.
I don't know. We'll go back. It's Monday.
It's Monday. Well, before we move on in today's show, we want to stop and give a brief shout out to the Ursuline team for reaching the state championship in football this season. Congratulations. They've had one heck of a ride. They get to cap it off in Canton this weekend. Let's hope they can pull one in for YSN. They bring home a team, multiple teams last year that made it to state championship. None could pull it off. Football, in the baseball season, you saw Warren JFK, who just got knocked out this past weekend. Congratulations to them on making it this far, as well as Springfield. But Ursuline, the one that sticks that out all the way through. We'll see if YSN can pick up another championship here with Ursuline. That game, audio only this weekend here on ysnlive.com. Make sure to tune in. So, Matt, you and I both got high school games tonight in the basketball region. I should have a pretty good one. I got Springfield girls taking on the Crestview girls. Crestview on the season, though, they're 0-2. They really struggled to get off to a start. They had lost a close one to your Beaver squad, 45-40. Pardon me, not to your Beaver squad, to Beaver, 45-43. Then they get blown out on the road again, 47-23 against Mike, your team, Girard. Pardon me, your alma mater at least. And now they got another away game to start at the year. 3 straight on the road. They've struggled the last 2. Their scoring has been a little up and down. Their defense hasn't been there. This is going to be a big game tonight for them to show up and come out against Springfield, who at the moment hasn't played a game yet on the season. So this is the first time you're going to see the Springfield girls come out. And right now in YSN, Running Point put out their polls who's going to win this one. So far, the fans have been voting for Springfield, so there's a lot of confidence going that way. 65% of voters were going towards Springfield in this game tonight. So Crestview's going to need a big one because, Matt, keep in mind, we got that game coming up December 11th up there, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Cards on the table. Crestview has got to find a rhythm before they go in there. And really, these next couple games, they have Lowellville on Thursday. Then they're going to come in on the next Thursday and take on Liberty. And Liberty is a school that I'm going to be covering a majority of this season. They got a lot of weapons, and that's going to be a very dangerous matchup to go into. Liberty is favored in their matchup as well tonight. So this is a team in Crestview right now. They're really going to need a big night against Springfield. And Springfield, they just got to get things going, right? Find a way. It's not necessarily a win. You don't have to win on your first game. They would love to win their home opener, first game of the season, but it's not, to me, not necessarily one you need to win. Because Crestview needs it more, honestly. 0-2 right now. First game of the season for Springfield. Sometimes you come out a little flat. You don't know what you got yet. A lot of young people entering the roster for the first time. So this is one I think Springfield can play by ear. It's not necessarily a big game for them. Crestview, though, they absolutely need this. You have to find a way to avoid an 0-3 start. I'm expecting a tight one. That one tonight here on YSN Live at 7 p.m. Matt, what do you got on your end tonight?
So I got the Badger Braves, my alma mater. I went to Badger, graduate of 2018, baby.
There you go.
Coming back for the first time in 4 years, and I'll be the first one making history here tonight, Alek. First one to call a Badger team. So in Badger, at least.
There you go, Matt.
I think they'll be called Ursuline. Played Badger last year, I think. Don't quote me on that. But I got on back-to-back nights tonight. I got the girls versus Bristol. This Bristol girls team, last year they went 11-4, and they lost in the playoffs to, I believe, Newton Falls. This Badger girls team just won about 3 games last year. They need to they went 3-11, 2-6 in the league last year. They have a lot to work on this year. The last time they played Bristol was a 47-28 loss. So, and back when I was going in high school, Bristol always seemed to have our number, and I don't even, in the 4 years I was there in high school, at least, I don't think we ever beat them once. They were always our, rival. They always beat us, and it just, maybe once in a while, I don't know if they've beaten them since I left, but it's only 4 years ago, so maybe they got to them at least once, boys or girls. But this is definitely a game to start out with. Bristol coming into Badger. Badger really has to set a statement here and say, hey, we only won 3 games last year, and this is probably the toughest game to start out of, a lot of the teams here. If you want to look level-wise, this is definitely a tough start for Badger. So we're going to have to come out and play tough basketball, play tough defense. I know in the past Bristol likes to shoot and score, and they just have to come out and, just shut them down. Yeah.
Matt, I hear a lot of teams like to shoot and score in basketball. It's a big theme there.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it should be a fun one. That one also tonight, 7 p.m. here on YSNLive.com. You get to hear Matt calling from his alma mater for the first time. And we got more games coming at you this week. We'll get down to them when it happens. And that Bristol squad, pretty good when they got Cardinal Mooney, the Lady Cardinals, coming up on the schedule here in a couple of weeks, I believe, as well. That may come once we hit the next year in January. But that one should be a pretty good matchup, I believe. It's either that or Lady Leopards from Liberty. A lot of games I got on my list here. So how about we get into what happened this past week in the NFL recap as we get into it? Matt, we're going to start out with your squad. Pittsburgh Steelers, 10 points in the game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Offense couldn't do anything. Defense couldn't do anything. What did you see out of this game on Sunday?
Yeah, I definitely got I don't know what to say. I come in every week and I give my spiel about what we did wrong or what we could do better. I'm not even gonna do that anymore. I'm still gonna give you analysis. I'm not gonna get all butthurt, but by now, Ben, you gotta be like, Ben, this is your team, okay? Yes, Fitzpatrick, he had an interception, good on the defensive side a little bit.
That's the only thing they did, though.
That's the only thing they did. They are weakened, okay? They're just out of gas, out of anything that they could possibly need right now. They're not going to get it, okay? So they have to figure out to just get past the soreness and just keep moving forward, okay? I mean, really, the oldest saying in the book: no pain, no gain, and they're getting all the pain and no gain. So they just have to reverse that. I mean, they have a tough schedule coming up. I mean, next week we got Baltimore. And I know Baltimore didn't look too hot last night. I know we'll probably talk about that game. But they have pulled off some wins, okay? They know how to win. They pulled off wins that they probably should have lost, but they have still won games. And then after that, you got to go into Minnesota against the Vikings team, who is just a thorn in everybody's, you know what. And then you got the defending okay, the Chiefs, who were in the Super Bowl. And then you have Cleveland. And then the Ravens getting to finish. So it's not
an easy schedule for your squad.
No, it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be hard. Starting off with, we need TJ Watt back. TJ Watt, I think, is the solid, he's the backbone of that defense. He gets everybody in that rhythm. And without him, you got one guy doing more than the other guy, and that guy becomes exhausted. And then, you rotate players in who can't play pretty much, or are career backups, and they can't start. And they just become exhausted, especially against teams like Cincinnati, who's coming up. Cincinnati, great shift from last year. Burrow has fit in this offense. They're protecting him better. They got him his weapons. Jamar Chase, holy cow. And let's talk about Mike Hilton on defense for Cincinnati.
Hey, Matt, you guys had Watt back in this game, by the way.
We did? Well,
yeah, he had one tackle. One tackle and one assisted tackle.
I hardly watched this game, so I don't know.
I didn't watch any of it. I couldn't. I was working. My dad said he shut it off, though, so it couldn't have been that exciting.
No, it really couldn't have. And Matt, as I feel you're running out of steam with your team, I think you just at least have to flip this over and continue to give credit to this Bengals squad, putting up a ton of points in recent weeks. 41 this week, 32 before that, 16 against the Browns. That was their down week. You go before that, 31 against the Jets, 41 against the Ravens, 34 against the Lions. This team in this last 6 weeks, they have been on one of the hottest stretches offensively that we've seen out of any team in the nation. And to me, this is the best team in the AFC North as it stands. You see their defense now. It has hit an elite level these last 2 weeks. And their offense is finding the rhythm. Joe Burrow isn't having to do too much now. They've found the ground game. Joe Mixon, 5.9 yards per carry. He was getting 6 in whenever he felt like it, with 2 touchdowns on the game on the ground. Joe Burrow had to throw it 24 times, 20 completions. Where's the Steelers' pass defense? It's non-existent. Yeah, Fitzpatrick gets an interception, but Joe Burrow really didn't have to throw the rock around that much because this was just an all-around dominant performance, and you're seeing the momentum now carry over week to week for this Bengal squad. T. Higgins, 114 yards out of nowhere with a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 3 of 39. To me, when you're not really throwing the ball, I'm fine with that. Yeah, you want more out of him, but that's going to come in bigger games when you have to throw the ball more. This wasn't one where the Bengals really even had to look downfield because Mixon was putting them all the way down, into the red zone with his feet alone. So to me, Steelers, they have a lot of holes to address this offseason. To me, they probably seem like if there's any team in the AFC North that should kind of bow out and let the season roll off, it's the Steelers team. And obviously they're not going to do that because this is Tomlin. This is Big Ben. They have so many weapons. The defense is still great on most weeks when they're healthy. But this defense, and pardon me, the Steelers alone, they haven't won a game when when TJ Watt has missed a quarter this season. He's an integral part of this defense's success. You take TJ out, and really this defense that we talk about turns into a pile of nothing, much like you saw in this Bengals game, because while he was there, he wasn't making the impact he normally does. If you stop Watt, you stop the Steelers, and they just found out it seems pretty easy to stop Watt. And I got a feeling a lot of teams are going to try and replicate what the Bengals did, at least offensively, scheming-wise. And I hope they do, because I hope this shows Tomlin he's got to make some adjustments in the offseason, because I felt at times they're too conservative in their decision-making and unwilling to go away and change from what they've done the last 20 years with Big Ben. But this isn't the same Big Ben that you've had for the last 20 years. It's time to move on. This needs to be Big Ben's final season. And if he won't be the one to push it and say, hey, I'm done, it's up to Tomlin to make that decision for him to say,
it's up to
hey,
the
if you
Roonies
come back
well.
next year, I'm not starting you. No, it doesn't have anything to do with the Roonies. It's Tomlin. If Big Ben says he's coming back next year and he says, I have no plans to retire, it's Tomlin's job in the offseason to sit him down and say, hey, you can come back all you want, but your only spot's going to be on the bench.
And Matt,
because that's the reality of the situation. The Steelers need to adapt to modern football. There's dying quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Big Ben. Big Ben's going to be the first one to go, and he really needs to, because that style is going away.
He's just going to get hurt.
Right.
He's just going to get hurt more.
Joe Burrow is the modern-day version of Big Ben, and he outplayed him 5-1 in this game.
And yeah, you're talking about outplayed. So that's where I was going to go. I'm not trying to call out Mike Tomlin or anybody on the coaching staff. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's just a matter of these guys not being ready to play, because we talked about when we were making picks for this game. We know what happened earlier in the year when these two teams played. The Steelers didn't play well, and they played even worse in this game. So, I mean, it's maybe a lack of focus from the players. I mean, you could, like I said, you could point to coaching. I don't know what you want to point to, but they just weren't ready to play yesterday. And Matt, I know their defense is good, but it has not been good this year. Last year they were on a roll. This year, I mean, when they have TJ Watt, again, it's a different story. Like Alek said, when he misses a quarter, they don't play good. And I mean, other than Cam Hayward, who do you have? Nobody can tackle in space. I'm tired of. I watched some of this game yesterday, not all of it, but none of these guys can tackle. I've seen whiff tackles from Devin Bush, from Minka Fitzpatrick. We give him all the hype, but he whiffs on tackles constantly the last few weeks. And on top of it, their offense isn't. I mean, their offense, they have weapons.
Okay, their offense. I'm not going to say it stinks, even though I really want to say that right now.
Matt, but I feel like you've talked about how good this offense has played in recent weeks when you keep pointing out, oh, well, Deontay Johnson's finding something, Claypool and Najee Harris finally get his. You've been pointing out a lot recently that this offense has been playing good while your defense hasn't. Now you need to eat your words here a little bit here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Matt, let me help you out real quick, though, Matt.
Go ahead.
They do have guys on offense, and I'm not trying to blame anybody, but it is on Big Ben. And the offensive line, I talked about the offensive line before the season. I said Najee Harris is a great draft pick. I don't mean to keep bringing this up, but their offensive line is average at best.
Offensive line is a cancer, okay?
And when you have a running back like Najee and you have an old quarterback like Ben, you have to have a top-notch offensive line, and they don't.
You do. And, I think I'm not going to go all blame on the coaches here, but, I mean, Matt Canada, what's going on with these play calling here? I mean, even go on defense here with Keith Butler. You have two of the big dogs from Michigan on your defense. They picked up Taco Charlton, too. Charlton and Devin Bush were the monsters of the Michigan Wolverines, okay?
Yeah.
That was their defense, okay? And you bring these guys on your defense now, and they can't do anything? Okay, one tackle from the both of them. That's horrible. And,
it's
TJ
bad.
not 100% at all. I felt like he needed to play. Either way, he was like, I'm playing. I need to play. I can't sit on the sideline anymore. I have to do something, and I'm playing. I mean, one tackle from a guy who definitely wasn't in his right mind to play.
He's also running for Defensive Player of the Year. Don't forget that.
Absolutely.
His name is constantly up there. He's a perennial contender for that. Unfortunately, here we got to move on from Steelers talk. Let's move it into one of the Thanksgiving Day games. Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions. This was the battle of which quarterback could be called the worst in the NFL. Dalton was playing about as bad as possible. Jared Goff, despite the fact his numbers were fine, if you watch that game, he looked pretty darn awful. It was his wide receivers making plays, and there's a reason this game was 16-14, and the game after it became the most watched in NFL history with your Cowboys there, Mike. is because everybody had to turn this one off, and they were like, I need to see at least some sort of good football, and they all had to turn on the Cowboys afterwards because of how abysmal this one was. I was watching this game with my family, sitting down eating dinner. It made us all about sick to our stomachs trying to watch this one and then go eat, some delicious Thanksgiving food. This game was embarrassing in all facets for the Bears and the Lions. Neither team could run. Neither team could really throw the ball. Sure, say Dalton 24, 39, 317 yards, a touchdown, interception. If you watch this game, he wasn't playing good football. Numbers can lie, and they do all the time. This was one of those ones where he got lucky.
Yeah, and to me, the key for the Lions to even be in this game, like you said, had nothing to do with their offense. For how bad they are, their defense is okay. Yeah. It's not that bad. Okay. They're the reason why they've been in some of these games.
The defense has done the last 3 weeks alone. 16 points to the Steelers, 13 points to the Browns, 16 here now to the Bears. I mean, they've really been locking up a lot of offenses this season, even the Vikings, the Ravens early in the season. This defense at times has found their rhythm. They just don't have any offense to counter.
Absolutely none. And they're getting production on defense from young guys, too. That's what I like. Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, I like that Dean Marlowe on that Detroit defense. 6 solo tackles. I like what he's doing, and they got a couple other good guys. I like that Alex Anzalone. He is cool. He's sweet. Yeah. I watched that game.
I've never seen that guy really play bad. To me, he's always going 110%, hair on fire. He's a guy, if you want a defense, he's the kind of guy you want on it. He was with the Saints for a while. Love what he did there. He's now up with Detroit. To me, this is one of your best linebackers out there in the NFL. And to me, this is a guy come free agency. If he's willing to leave, this is someone that a lot of teams could really look to pick up. He plays with that fire and intensity that every defensive coordinator.
And Matt, you got the young corner. You got Amani Aruwariye from Penn State, and he's been picking every game for the last 3 games. I think he had one in the Steelers game. I know that he might have had one in the Browns game, and he had one in this one. So, like I said, they're getting people on defense to play well. But like you said, Alek, they have literally nothing on offense besides T.J. Hawkinson. You can have him, but you can't get him the ball. You're not going to do anything.
Right. And the thing also, DeAndre Swift, he was coming to the week with one of the hottest, pair of legs in football. He had 3 carries, no yards.
Yeah.
They ran Jamal Williams 15 times for 4.3 yards per carry. They completely went away from the run game.
That's
this is a team that really works on the ground, and that's where it is. And they completely went away from it. And, I don't remember if there was an injury in this one or not, but he was day to day. He got a shoulder sprain in that one, but that was one of those moments you're just like, this team has nothing. And when you can say this entire team runs behind one guy and they're 0-10-1 now, thanks Pittsburgh, ruins the chance for the imperfect season. They can still go 0-16-1. So you can at least still say they're a winless season so far. But pretty abysmal, right?
Yeah.
All right, next game on the slate then. Let's take a look. Up in Indianapolis, Tampa Bay Buccaneers came in 7-3. Indianapolis Colts came in 6-5. This one finished with a 1-touchdown split, even though the Colts led by 10 going into halftime. The first half, Carson Wentz looked like the same man that led this team to the playoffs in Philadelphia. And then the second half, he looked like the man that got cut 2 seasons later.
Yeah,
this was a tale of 2 halves. I mean, 3 touchdowns for him, 300+ yards. Jonathan Taylor was averaging 5.2 on the ground. He got a touchdown. 3 different wide receivers get the ball in the end zone. Doyle, Dolan, and T.Y. Hilton. They finally found the ball to Darius Leonard had 12 tackles in this game. You get Isaiah Rodgers with the interception, multiple sacks down on Tom Brady, and then second half comes around, and here comes TB12 and the GOAT. And he had 226 yards, a touchdown, and an interception as well. But you saw Leonard Fournette go off on the ground with 100 yards and 3 touchdowns to really lead this one back. And Gronk, leading receiver, once again, 123 yards with 17.6
That's insane.
yards per reception. He was going
insane.
off. Right. And yeah,
old man's
3 sacks as well on to Wentz. Buccaneers lit it up in that second half, and it came down close. It required a late touchdown by the Buccaneers and a field goal to put this one away in that fourth and final quarter. So this was a game you really wanted to see, and this was a fantastic game, I think, for both sides. And if I'm Indy, I'm not terribly upset with what happened. I'm upset that I blew my lead, but on the other side, it was Tom Brady.
And if I'm Indy, again, Alek, I'm with you. I'm upset you lose this game because they're 6-5. They could have went to 7-5. It could have been a good one for them. and you lose it at home too when you're winning like that. And Carson Wentz played really good, but he takes a shot downfield, he gets intercepted, he gets a strip sack too. So it's not all on him. I mean, they probably could have went to Jonathan Taylor a little bit more because he is their best player. And the week he had the week before, you probably got to go to him more there. But I mean, give Tampa credit. I mean, they do this all the time. I mean, first half they looked like, actually last couple weeks, and then started this half. They're like, I was thinking at least, what's wrong with Tampa because they don't look the same. And I know they have a bunch of injuries, but then second half it's Tom Brady time, and Leonard Fournette helped them out too with 4 touchdowns, and they just kept feeding him, and that's how they got it.
Tom Brady is a second half quarterback. Okay, he lives for that 28-3. You all remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he lives for being down at halftime. That's where he plays his best.
And he had another interception too. So that's the other thing in the first half. Yeah. I was thinking, what's wrong with Tampa, and especially because Tom Brady's starting to throw a couple interceptions the last few games. So it's kind of a little bit of, hey, what's going on here? But again, it's Tom Brady, it's Tampa, and they find a way.
Well, Mike, speaking of interceptions this past Sunday, I believe it was before we even hit the second set of games, there was 30 interceptions thrown just in that first slate by the quarterback starting at the 1 o'clock games. I mean, this was a defensive style weekend, and it seemed these teams ignored defense for pretty much the majority of it. And look at what the Colts have done. 340 points for on the season, which is the highest in the AFC. They have been on fire when it comes to scoring. Unfortunately, their defense has also allowed 283, which is up there for one of the worst allowed in the AFC. So this team, while they have offense, they can't seem to find defense. And that really does seem to be their biggest problem so far.
Yeah, like I said, if you're the Colts, though, I mean, last week you had that big dominant win against the Bills, and if you're able to pull this one out, that would have been 2 straight wins against 2 good teams, but they weren't able to do it. And at least you got one of them. If you're Andy.
I mean, that's one of those weekends. That's the games you go into and you go, hey, let's split the series, and they did that. So, I'm sure they would love to get both. Everybody wants to get both of the big games. They can't get it done. Is what it is. Now we get to see a big game in Indy this coming weekend. Big Ten championship. Home team in Indy so far this season is 3-4 now. We'll see if there can be a home team taking one out in Indy this weekend with the Big Ten championship between Iowa and that team up north. We'll get into that game on Wednesday's college football recap. Staying here in the NFL, Miami Dolphins finally go off somehow. Myles Gaskins had 2 touchdowns on just 49 yards. Tua really was perfect through the air, 27-31, 230 yards and a touchdown. And the Panthers had a whole lot of nothing going on. They had 2 different quarterbacks play. Cam Newton was throwing it about 25%. His completion percentage was under 25% for this game. He had less than 100 yards and 2 interceptions. Phillip Walker then came in, threw half as many times, had the same amount of completions, and then he also threw an interception. Chuba Hubbard, they completely went away from, and now Christian McCaffrey is out for the season.
Yeah, I just saw that before we came on, too, about McCaffrey. But
Things have gone from terrible to absolutely gut-wrenchingly awful for Carolina.
Yeah, and before this game, I mean, the Dolphins, they're on a 4-game winning streak. They won 3 before this, and then this makes it 4 with Tua looking good. Like you said, Alek, he was 27-31 with 230 yards. And that, compare it to Cam, 5-21 for 92 yards. I know you said, they had some other guys in there too, but that's pretty bad. And if from Cam Newton, the guy's been in this league for a long time. Ever since he said he's back, he really hasn't been back. And this is probably, through the air especially, but probably overall one of his worst games as a pro. And, I mean, when you win a game 33-10 like the Dolphins did, that means you had all the answers, pretty much all the answers, both on defense and offense. And that's pretty much how they got the win yesterday. Yeah,
and I mean, I think you have to at least highlight Jalen Waddle out of this game. 9 receptions, 137 yards for the touchdown as well. He was on the money. He was a reliable target. And that's exactly what we were waiting to find that guy you have a connection with. And he did so. He got it right to him. And now we're seeing this multiple times with younger quarterbacks. And we talked about this last week on the show. Get these younger quarterbacks, guys they're familiar with in college. A lot of people think that's exactly what Chicago has to do. Go out there and grab Olave, grab Garrett Wilson, give him somebody he knows for next season if you're deciding to start him, or even not. Those are still 2 of the best wide receivers coming out of this year's draft. Go get Dalton or, Justin Fields, somebody that, Fields was very successful with. So, that recipe clearly working again. I mean, this team barely had to run the ball. And, talking about the acquisition of Phillip Lindsay, I even mentioned it when we were talking earlier in the week. And earlier last week, and I wasn't aware he had been moved over or signed by the Dolphins yet. And here he goes in this game, 3.5 yards per carry and 42 yards. He was a fantastic acquisition by this Dolphins squad, and really he's a phenomenal running back, and I wish him all the best down there in Miami, because to me he's a very special talent. He's a little bit older. He's one of those backs that, past his prime, he's going to come in when they need him, and he did exactly what they needed, led the team in yards per carry. So fantastic performance there. Dolphins all around, great game.
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins, just like that, they're not entirely out of the playoff hunt. They're 5-7 now. I believe they're like a 13 seed, something like that. But, 4-game win streak, why stop there? Keep winning. They're
finding their way back up. That's how they made it to the playoffs last time. It was a late half surge, and they were led by Tua. Early part, it was Fitzpatrick, and they went, hey, let's go to Tua. Let's let him ride the thunder. And, he did it perfectly last time. We'll see if he can finish it out again. This one came as a bit of surprise. New England Patriots in Foxborough, a place they've struggled, dominated the Tennessee Titans 36-13. And Dontrell Hilliard and Dante Freedom combined for 240 yards on the ground for the Titans. So no DH, no problem when it came to the running game. But Tannehill, just 93 yards on 11-21, a touchdown and an interception for him. Patriots, Mac Jones, don't doubt him ever again. 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, 23-32. Touchdown on the ground for Damian Harris. They didn't even have to run the football, and they dominated this one. Their defense was flying around. They ended up with 2 sacks, an interception, and give it up to Nick Folk. Had half of the New England Patriots total in this game. He had 18 points.
That's awesome.
How often do you see a kicker get 18 points? If anybody has a kicker in Fantasy League and it wasn't Nick Folk, or they were going up against Nick Folk, I am sorry, because he probably won a few people some games.
Especially in this day and age in football, when kickers are missing all the time. You can't find a consistent
means he had another opportunity to get 21 points.
That would have been awesome. Make it 21.
Oh, man.
That would have been sick.
I was playing blackjack from field goal range.
Oh, man.
Oh, and he hit a long.
I thought you froze there, Matt.
And he hit a long of 52. So Nick Folk was an absolute beast this past weekend.
But yeah, we talked about this when we were making picks for this game. This would have been a good one I know you don't have Derrick Henry for the Titans, but this is a good one for the Patriots to get home, because they haven't. We brought up their home record. It isn't over 500, and this is a big one to getting. It's a good team. The Titans are still good, and how do you not say right now that the Patriots are the best team in the AFC? And because they definitely have the best coach, they definitely have the best young quarterback and the best quarterback in this past draft, and they have a defense that is I keep giving them credit. They're playing really good on that side of the ball, and they have. And
Mike, you can say just maybe not even the AFC, perhaps the entirety of the NFL.
I was going to go there too.
The Cardinals will wait in the situation with Kyler Murray, but if Colt McCoy is their starter, I think that eliminates them from that competition of being the best. He did have a good week. That's not going to happen every week, just like it didn't happen with Mike White and the Jets. Packers, to me, probably number 1. But at the moment, if there's no Kyler Murray for the Cardinals, then I have this Patriots team sitting number 2. I got Patriots versus Green Bay in the Super Bowl once more.
You can't argue against the Patriots right now. Like I said, they have the best coach. I don't think there's any argument to Bill Belichick. He's the best coach. Belichick. It's not an argument.
No. He right now, at least in the NFL, I don't know all time, but right now in the NFL, he's number 1. It would be hard to go and find somebody else that really is working with the lackluster of talent. This guy isn't working with Tom Brady. He doesn't have Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. He doesn't have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. He has
Jacoby Myers.
Right. And Mac Jones, who, is having a fantastic rookie season. Go Mac J.
He's awesome.
He's just playing with the defense that is coming out there trying to prove every week they are the best in the NFL. And right now, I'd be hard-pressed to say they aren't. 190 points allowed, second best in the AFC East, 8 points more than the Bills have allowed. But you look at those two right now, those are the 2 best defenses after this weekend in the AFC at least. And Broncos still right behind them in 3rd place. They just haven't had any offense. So this team has been phenomenal offensively, phenomenal defensively, and I don't know where the Titans go from here. Unfortunately, we got to move on to that Broncos squad, who did find a way to win. Teddy Bridgewater had 1 touchdown in this game. They actually brought in Drew Lock as well. He threw an interception, though. No surprise there. Melvin Gordon finally got back to running it like he used to. 4.9 yards per carry, 17 carries for 83 yards. Javonte Williams with 54 yards and a touchdown. And to me, we have to stop hyping this Chargers team so much. And because, in my opinion, they've been really hot this entire season, and I haven't seen this anymore. I don't know what's going on with the Chargers. And I think they're in a very similar situation as the Browns, right? With a young quarterback in Justin Herbert, who obviously has a lot of skill and a lot of talent, but he kind of has this, cockiness to him. And I feel like that cockiness, same thing with Baker Mayfield. Sometimes it gets to their heads a little bit. And I'm sure once we start criticizing the Chargers, they'll play fantastic this weekend. But that's the same thing that happens with Baker and the Browns. We talk bad, they play good. You talk good, they play bad. It's this back and forth scenario that keeps happening, and they're really lacking consistency. And I think that starts on the ground. Eckler, that one of those 2 interceptions from Herbert bounced off this guy's, I think, helmet and landed in the lap of a defensive back for the Broncos, who took it back, I think, all the way for a pick 6. So you can't even put that one on because it bounces off of Eckler, hits this guy in the perfect spot. He's just not ready for a football. They don't have a running game to me, and they need to go in and find somebody this season, running back and a wide receiver, and probably an offensive lineman. To me, those are your top 3 guys you need, because to me, the Chargers defense is pretty fine. They've been dealing with injuries, but they've been decent all season long. They could probably, stand to grab another defensive back, perhaps, defensive end if they can find somebody good, or they get a higher draft pick. They want to trade into one. There's a lot of great guys coming out between Will Anderson, Jordan Davis, Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, those are 4 guys that are probably going to go top 10 right now, and Chargers could very well move up into a spot like that, depending how the rest of the season goes. Broncos, to me, they've been so up and down. If they continue to have this consistency offensively, they can very well make a postseason push, and I think they very well might. But it's going to take a lot, because they're still in 4th place of the AFC West, even with having the same records as the 2 teams ahead of them in the Chargers and the Raiders.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say about both these teams and this game. Both these teams are confusing because the Broncos, they're nothing special, but they've found some ways to win in most of their games this year. And the Chargers, like you said, Alek, I was going to say that before you even brought it up. I mean, I guess they should be better than what they are record-wise, maybe, or the way they've been playing. But maybe it is we just hyped them up too much, because
maybe.
I mean, it's easy to get hyped up about them, Matt, because they have a bunch of weapons on offense.
They do. I like Mike Williams. I think he's going to be one of their star receivers here coming. He's still young. Keenan Allen, okay, he'll be 30 next year. He still can go out and catch some.
You're still the number 1 receiver in this game.
Oh, absolutely. But I do like what you were talking about. I think they should bring in another receiver just to complement those guys.
How about this? How about a tight end? I mean, you saw what it did for Pittsburgh too, and giving just an outlet guy to or even Cleveland with Baker Mayfield. He has 3 guys to go to, and you see that with even the Lions. They can get it out to Hawkinson. We're seeing tight ends really become a huge factor, especially in the red zone, where a lot of offenses struggle the most. Find an end zone target. You're not going to find a guy like Freiermuth, but we've seen a lot of Big Ten tight ends come out in recent years and really dominate in a lot of facets of the game. So I think this could be a big offseason. When you talk wide receivers, to me, they get rid of TJ Hawkinson. They haven't had a guy since. They need to bring in somebody else to fill that role. How about we go one more game here before we talk Browns? LA Rams, Green Bay Packers. Packers win it once more. Rodgers, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns. Don't doubt him. And Matt, this is just another case, right? Last week, he didn't really want to play. He heard everyone talking, crap on him. He goes, you can't win without me. I ain't going to play well. How about that? Then this week goes, all right, let's win a football game, and start slinging the rock around. I mean, A.J. Dillon, 20 carries, 69 yards. Aaron Jones, 10 carries, 23 yards. Aaron Rodgers, 2 carries, 0 yards, but he had the lone rushing touchdown of the game.
On a bad toe.
And he nearly had 2 wide receivers with 100 yards in this game between Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb, who Cobb had the touchdown as well. This Aaron Rodgers-led Packers team, to me, if they want to, they could win the Super Bowl. It's just going to depend on if they want to put in the work down the stretch, because I think we've seen so many times in the playoffs, they fall apart. They get lazy. And I want to see this team avoid being lazy this year.
Yeah, and if they want to do that, Alek, like you said, they've beaten good teams this year. They beat the Cardinals and they were undefeated. They beat, the Rams yesterday. There's some other teams in there they beat too. And, I mean, they're getting these big wins, but like you said, can they do it in the playoffs? Because the last 2 years, they NFC Championship team, but they can't beat the teams that get there. So, exactly. I mean, 3 straight losses. On the Rams side, they got 3 straight losses. I can even ask a question, and I'll ask a question like, sometimes when teams do have a lot of talent, the additions of Von Miller and OBJ, they haven't looked so great so far. Do they have too much talent that they don't know what to do with all of it? Because that happens with some teams. And I know when you have a lot of talent on a team, you have to give them time to gel. But this is the NFL when you play 1 game a week, and you have to win these games if you're the Rams too. And I mean, their offense doesn't look like it used to be. I mean, not to say they can't change it, but it's definitely concerning for the Rams. And if you're a fan of the Rams,
that's for sure. Well, Matt, any thoughts here?
I mean, definitely Aaron Rodgers is the guy that's going to be like, hey, you're going to win the Super Bowl because of me. I mean, who else do you have besides Aaron Rodgers on this team? He makes their receivers look godful. Besides Devontae Adams, I mean, you have an old Randall Cobb. You have Alan Lazard. I like that Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Mac, we take a timeout here. News from the NFL. New starting quarterback announced in New Orleans. Taysom Hill will take over quarterback duties now for the New Orleans Saints. Trevor Siemian listed as the number 2 quarterback going into this Thursday night football matchup against Mike's Cowboys.
It's about time.
Any thoughts on this one? Matt saying about time. Mike having this quarterback change, 3-4 days right before they take on a really great team in the Cowboys. How are you feeling about this matchup now on Thursday?
Cowboys better win it. It's going to be a fight on honest. They better win it because you're playing a guy that's not like he plays quarterback. He's not a natural quarterback.
Right.
So
this is the guy, though, that New Orleans signed to a long-term deal. So they clearly see something out of him. I think that's probably the biggest test of that young contract of his is playing big this week here against Cowboys on Thursday night. But I think this pretty much may solidify Cowboys across the board come Thursday when we go to make picks on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Mike doesn't really have to give away his pick. It
should be, but again, it's a Dallas Cowboys.
You never know what to
expect. I'm a fan of them. I expect the unexpected from this game.
Well, how about let's go and take a look here at two teams that really never seem to play as good as they probably could. The Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Ravens win this one 16-10, leading 13-10 going into that fourth quarter. Baltimore just gets another game-sealing, field goal, and Browns couldn't do anything. And it's becoming ever more apparent that Baker Mayfield is extremely injured and it's costing this team. I was talking with some of my friends earlier in the day, and it was just like, he's dealing with half a dozen injuries. Yeah. And to me, him and Case Keenum are about there. They're about equal to me. And the only reason that I'm taking Baker over Case Keenum on any given Sunday is because I think Case Keenum has peaked. He's hit his peak, and this is where he is in his career. He's at the ceiling. There is no more he can go higher in this one. Yes, he's great with Stefanski, but he doesn't have any more room to develop. He's done everything he can do. And Baker Mayfield, his ceiling, even if it's not that much higher, is probably here. So I'm trying to develop Baker Mayfield still into being the franchise quarterback that he got taken at number 1 to be. But at the same time, when he is injured, give this guy time to heal, because if the Browns want any chance of making a postseason run, it comes with a healthy Baker Mayfield. If they get down to the wild card again and Baker Mayfield is still playing while injured, it becomes a situation where you go, well, that was a fun season. We'll see you next year, because he can't perform right now. And you saw it, 18-37, under 50%, 247 yards. The numbers were fine, just 1 touchdown. And the Browns had no run game. 15 carries between 2 of the top backs in the NFL for 36 yards between these two. They went away from the ground game, and I don't understand why that's coming up to it, because this is a team that has been phenomenal on the ground. This is Stefanski's biggest problem every single game this season, in my opinion. They get in the red zone or they get a momentum going, and they just go air attack, air attack, air attack. They're playing air raid offense. And what have we seen out of Cleveland these last 2 years when they've actually played well? They run the football. When you win games, you run the football in Cleveland. That's how we've always done it. That's how they should continue to do it, because when the Browns try and throw the football, we have a long list of quarterbacks who have failed at that one. Matt, run the damn ball.
Matt, I'm going to be real quick, and I'll hand it over to you, because I'm sure you have something, but I'm going to be real quick.
I have something. Go ahead.
This game sucked, okay?
Yeah.
I got nothing on it. It absolutely sucked.
It sucked.
The Baltimore just made a few more plays.
Answer me this one real quick.
How do you
get 4 interceptions and lose a football game? That was the first time that's ever happened. Teams in that situation, I believe, were 0-52 and now 1-52 thanks to Cleveland.
Again, I got nothing. This game sucks. Go ahead, man.
Baker didn't throw interceptions, but they were fumbling too. Like it seemed like, I'm like, what game am I watching? It's like each time they turned it over, the next play, Baltimore turned it over. Cleveland. It went back and forth.
Nobody wanted it.
What is it?
Right.
What is this? And they were they missed a field goal too. Like they could have had an opportunity to score, and they didn't do anything. At all. Yes, Baker Mayfield is hurt, and yes, they need to give him time to rest. I have seen this case before.
Luckily, there's a bye week.
There is a bye week. I have seen this case before. and I ain't going to say who it is right yet, but they ruined this guy's career. He had that great rookie season. He led him to the playoffs. They lost in the playoffs. He tore his ACL, and they kept playing him. You know, RG3? RG3? Yeah. Washington kept playing
a guy injured is never good for their career. With the amount of injuries, this isn't just one major injury. This is multiple major injuries that would have most quarterbacks sidelined for a season and potentially more. The longer they play him, the worse this is going to get, in my opinion, because he's just going to put himself in a situation where an injury that they say can't get any worse is going to cause another injury that's going to be worse. You're going to go from just a torn labrum that's no really big deal. It should be an easy surgery with, probably 3 months of recovery time, to a torn ACL, something broken, shattered ribs. This is going to get into a situation where it's unhealthy for a player. And that's, I think, the biggest problem. And there was a post-game presser with Stefanski, and a reporter asked him, are you going to bench Baker Mayfield for his health? And Kevin Stefanski's response, why would we? To me, that shows a clear and direct lack of leadership within the Browns organization from Kevin Stefanski, showing an unwillingness to change. And the why is, look at what you guys have done the last 3 weeks. You've gotten your butts whooped, embarrassed, shellacked. You've looked like a high school peewee team. This is becoming ridiculous. Your defense gets 4 interceptions, and you can't win a damn football game. Your running backs, 2 of the best in the country, by the way, combined for 36 yards on just 15 carries. You kidding me? This is a team, when they win, they run it over 30, 40 times a game. Instead, they're letting Baker Mayfield, who has 6 or 7 injuries, throw it 37 times. To me, Stefanski is setting up this team for failure. And I'm not saying replace Stefanski. I'm just saying someone needs to pull him aside and say, hey, let's get our act together. This is a team that can compete. We should be competing. Don't be the one holding us back, because otherwise your name's going to be on the hot seat really quickly. And because of, 1, the media who loves to scrutinize Cleveland, and 2, the hardcore fans that don't want to lose.
That are sick of losing. Yeah.
And that are sick of losing, right? Because if we have this team that we all know, everybody in the league knows that this team should be able to compete at the highest levels, and we're one of the teams favored to go to the Super Bowl this year, who now sit at 6-6 and put up just 10 points in the game. They had 4 interceptions and had nothing going. I mean, this is just flat out ridiculous here.
Yeah, a team that's 6-6, and that, like, right now the playoffs aren't looking pretty good for them. I mean, I think, especially if they do this next week, but I'm thinking right now you probably could push the playoffs out the window with this team, because
they have
the way they've been playing,
they've go off.
They've shown nothing that like you said, out the last couple games, they showed that they don't want to change anything, and they haven't shown anything for me to say that they can put some games together and they could end up being a playoff team. They haven't shown any of that.
Right, and Mike, to your point, offensively, 3 in 3 games these last 3 weeks, 27 points. They got outscored by that in just the first game against the Patriots, in which they put up 45. I mean, yeah, the defense has played great these last 2 weeks. They've allowed 29 points. That's still more than they've scored in the last 3 weeks. So to me, offensively, yeah, Baker, he needs to take a break. Put in Case Keenum. You saw in the Patriots game when he was dealing with problems, he was 11 of 21 with 73 yards, a touchdown, and interception. They brought in Case Keenum. He went 8 of 12, 81 yards. To me, this guy has everything you need to fit the system while Baker has time to recover if they want to make a postseason push. If they don't, that's fine. Make the announcement. Baker Mayfield's done for the season. Rest job, rest of the year. Take out Garrett. Tank these last 5 games, because you know what? No one's going to notice if you lose to the Ravens, the Raiders, the Packers, the Steelers, and the Bengals in your last 5. Go ahead and tank. End the year right now if you're going to make that decision. Either way, Baker Mayfield's season is done, in my opinion, unless they can get him healthy in the next 5 weeks.
This is
come playoff time.
This is what needs to happen, okay? He has a torn labrum in his non-throwing arm, okay? But that, I mean, you're still going to feel it when you throw with your throwing arm. It's still going to hurt, okay? And then,
especially for a strong arm quarterback like him that loves to go deep.
Exactly. And I mean, it's gonna get worse. When he's gonna have to have surgery. Right. Surgery is gonna have to be done. That's 4 to 6 months recovery time. Okay. So off season, that's gonna be 4 to 6 months. He's gonna take out half his off season. Yeah. It's gonna go right up into the in the next season, okay?
Summer camps.
In the summer camps, and he's not going to be ready, and it's just going to delay his, career pretty much, or including next season. They have to take him out now. This is the time now. Rest them, because if he hurts that even worse, I mean, the surgery, I mean, it needs surgery now. It's just going to be the complications of the surgery, okay? How long the rehab and all that stuff. They have to sit him out now. You're gonna ruin this guy's career, okay? You have to sit him down. You have to.
Well, that's going to do it here for our NFL portion of the podcast. I'm sure we can go for a little bit more on this stuff. We got a little bit more to go into here. Matt, how about we start out our next 3 segments with your award of the weekend? Yeah. This week's Beast of the Week, baby. Matt, who is it?
Yeah, I got to go with Nick Folk, or that kicker, man. 18 points, that's insane. Yeah, you get guys like that who don't really – this is who I try to give it to. You got players who don't or you don't think are going to perform. Like I could give it to TJ Watt or even his brother JJ. I mean, if they're both healthy, I could give it to guys like that or, every week, but that would be too easy. I like to give it to the guys who really don't perform.
Matt, can I give an honorable mention for this award? This one hurts me to say, but I have to give an honorable mention to a guy I said was going to make or break this football game. It came in D game, 5 touchdowns for Hassan Haskins on the ground. I said he was the one I was afraid of. He burned me just like I thought it was possible. I at least want to give an honorable mention. It hurts me to say that, but without his play, his performance, Ohio State can still win that game, and it didn't happen. So that's this week's Beast of the Week. Goes to Nick Folk, the kicker. 18 points for the Patriots. Next game up here. Got to go quick. 9-13 Indiana Pacers at the 10-10 Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. 8 p.m. Minnesota are favored by 3.5 points. Give me your picks, guys. I'm taking Timberwolves here. I like what they've been doing recently, scoring off the charts.
You know what? I looked at this games the other day, and I saw that they're around 500, like you just said, the record. And I didn't think they were this good, I guess you could say, because I thought they were still kind of playing bad, like they had last year and recently. But for that reason, I'm going to go Timberwolves because I didn't know they were playing this well, and it looks like they're playing good. So I'm going to go them.
Yep. Matt?
Yeah, they have definitely surprised me as well. I'm going to go Minnesota too.
All right, well, I'll let you guys take it here. You guys got 2 minutes. Give me your rundown. 10-7-4 Pittsburgh Penguins, 12-4-5 Calgary Flames tonight, 9 p.m. There you go. Take it away, boys.
Want to go first?
Mike, go first because I'm.
All right, so both teams are coming off losses from Saturday. Pittsburgh lost to Montreal, and the Flames lost to the Jets. So, I mean, both teams are going to try to get a win tonight. And, I mean, the Penguins, they've looked better over the last week or so, Matt, getting Crosby back. And, I mean, even though in that loss, he had 1 goal and 2 assists. So, I mean, that helps to have him back, and that's your guy. So, that's definitely why they're playing better. And another reason why they're playing better, that week when they were losing a bunch of games, they weren't scoring anything. And in the last few games that they've been in, they're starting to put the puck in the net. And you could probably say the same thing about the Flames, too. I look at their scores. They're starting to score a lot of goals, too. So this could potentially be a shootout tonight. And what do you got on it, Matt?
I mean, Penguins, they're bouncing back injuries. Crosby finally coming back here tonight. I mean, he's been coming back a little bit here, and I think he's finally returning to form here. But the guy who has been leading this team, Mike, Jake Gensel. Jake Gensel is sweet. This is lead in every category. 8 goals, 10 assists. I mean, this guy is insane. But their defense is getting better. I like all their young guys that they have too. And I mean, Tristan Jarry has been amazing as their goaltender.
Which is surprising.
And, they had to give him a rest. They bring DeSmith in. I think that's why they kind of lost. He still has some development to go under. I think that's why they kind of took the L there against the Canadians. So, Alek, you got something here?
Gotta cut you off there. Yeah, I got to make picks. I'm guessing you two going with the Penguins here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you why you're both wrong. Calgary Flames, they've been outscoring and out-defending. They've scored more, allowed less. Penguins are pretty much even. There's a 3-point differential between those two. Calgary Flame team, 70-42, a 28-point differential there. I'm taking the Flames.
And, Matt, Penguins are going to get a win for Pittsburgh because Saturday was Pittsburgh's birthday, the city of Pittsburgh, greatest city in the world.
Right.
So
that's right. And I do want to talk about this. Oh, we can. Maybe we should wait till tomorrow.
Keep it for tomorrow, Matt. That's going to do it here for the Casual Sports Podcast. I'm Alek Koberna. That's Matt Morrison and Mike Wolfgang. As always, thank you for tuning in. Power Hour up next here on YSNLive.com. Make sure to tune in. From Monday, Casual Sports Podcast, Pete out.